My spiritual awakening. I've had about 5 awakenings now, but this is one of the main ones that set me off on my path and really opened my heart to the world. That is what it's all about, really. There is another world out there that you can only see when you connect truly through the heart and through the energy that's next to the heart, which is a part of everything. So let me tell you this little story. I was helped my grandfather out. I called him my grandfather. He wasn't my grandfather, but still. I was helping my grandfather out. He'd had a big crash right in the middle of my exams, and when I was at university. And this meant that I didn't finish all my courses. So I only passed so many courses at university. And so then I was looking for a new direction. And it came to light that I had the opportunity to go and have some trials and have a sort of what we call the second chance of being a professional footballer, which I'd turned down and became ill the first time. So I thought, okay, this might be a sign, that I'm not meant to carry on university, that I might be the chance of going to play football. I went to see a psychic, and the psychic told me that he saw me going abroad, but not for what I thought I was going for, and that everything would open up to me. And he also saw behind me a monk that looked just like me. And so that obviously was my soul in a previous life. And he told me that he'd been on a spiritual journey, and this monk had been hidden away, and that they only used him for healing and for insights into the world, and which is what I do now, really, share the insights that obviously he passes through me. And that's why at a certain time I called myself Brad Monk, in honor to him, and also because I worked with children in football. Being known as a psychic medium wasn't really, it would cause problems. And so I went under a pseudonym. Not that I was scared of being who I was, it wasn't that. But the football industry is a very cutthroat industry. And so I decided that I would be able to do my work in peace without trying to claim who I was. So let's get back to the story I wanted to give you. So there I was, and I got an opportunity of a friend of my dad's offered to take me by lorry all the way to Spain. And I had trials for Valencia. So there was a certain date that they were all meeting up for trials, and I was going to be there. And I had such a wonderful journey going. But when we got to Spain, the truck lost a wheel. And so in the end, the trucker had to go back early. He didn't get to his destination, which meant that I didn't go to the place where I thought I was going to have trials. Now, on reflection, this one tyre, he looked round at me and said, "This is 1 in a million chance. I can't believe my luck." That a tyre would just disappear. So there was 2 tyres, and the inside tyre had just disappeared, which was incredible. And he seemed gobsmacked by it. And I thought, well, this is strange, So I thought, well, maybe this is for a reason. And so I stayed in the village, a place called Coslada, outside of Madrid. And I thought, well, I'll try trials here. Maybe it's for a reason. But the locals really didn't play on like grass pitches. There was more sandy pitches. And they didn't really want to accept an English guy to play for their team. So I was distraught then because I was stuck in a place which I called Black Bag City, because on a couple of days I'd actually seen people die and just been taken away in black bags. So I was a little bit frightened by this, but I thought, no, this is for a reason. So each day I went walking for 4 or 5 hours a day. And this place was like a desert, but there was just odd bits of little camps, and obviously people had came and done barbecues and stuff. So I was walking for 4 or 5 hours a day. And the more I was walking, the more I started to see new life and beautiful things. And I thought, well, this is strange. How can I go from seeing a desert to all these amazing things after just a few days? And so I carried on walking. And then this one day I got a feeling to go to this high point in Coslada, which was strange because the psychic had told me that I would go to a high point in Spain. And so I stood, and it was just, you could see everywhere around. It was quite beautiful, really. And as I knelt down for no reason, I felt my soul lifting. And as it lifted, it went higher and higher. But I could see through my eyes of my soul all around. It was quite beautiful, but a very strange experience. It was like I was being opened up to another world. As I came back to my body, I basically felt not so well. So I went to bed, and I ended up in bed for 2 days. But while I was in bed, all of a sudden, I started to hear voices. People talking to me. People shouting and screaming. It was like 50 voices at the same time talking to me. And this just scared the life out of me. I'll be honest. I just said to them, please, I don't know what you've done to me or what is happening, but please take this away. I can't handle hearing all these voices in my head. I thought I was going a little bit mad. So for 2 days I spent in bed, and I slept for 2 days. And then I carried on walking, trying to understand what was going on. Then one day I was sitting on a rock, and suddenly I saw a vision. And the vision was Jesus in front of 13 religions. And he was answering questions that most people hear about, like the shirt off your back and an eye for an eye. And he was answering to these 13 religions, answering all their questions. And it was quite amazing, the answers he gave. Not what people perceive, I should say, the shirt off your back or the eye for your eye was. And I wish I'd made a note of this, because at that time it was really enlightening, and I felt so connected. And just to see this scenario was quite crazy. It was just unbelievable. And I later, on reflection, I realized that the 13 religions all had the element of the message. And if they all came together, they would have actually shared the teachings of Jesus. Because he had planted all these stories, or planted all these messages within all of them. And it wasn't until they would all come together and stop bickering between each other that they would get the true message of love, I suppose, and light, I suppose. So this was a bit scary to see Jesus. And how do I know Jesus? I don't know. It's just a feeling. But he was quite amazing to watch him talking to these people. So that was one vision I had. Then I carried on walking, and I got a vision of Peter and the fishermen. And they were telling me that I was descendant of Peter, and I could not handle this. Excuse me. I couldn't handle the thought that I was sort of related to Peter. But what I think they were trying to show me in the vision was that we're all the energies of the disciples. Our mannerisms, who we are, what part we play, all stems from that energy from the disciples. Now I can relate to that, but I couldn't relate to being descendant of Peter. But that feels better. That into the world was sent all these energies, all this people to share in the experience and to evolve and everything. And that really awakened me to everything in life, really, to understanding. Now, I did close down my ability to see the visions and everything, and it wasn't until many, many years ago on another awakening that I understood what that spiritual awakening was all about. What I'd been learning to do all my life was connect to this one energy. And so they told me that the 50 voices was because they were training me to hear the world, but to hear it in one voice, which is what I do with my channeling. I basically connect to the universe or that energy, and then I'm able to get information. It's so pure, and sometimes I have to try and translate it or try and interpret it and share it with people. But I tend to find that people can't take the message in the pure state, but some it will ignite and some it will evolve. So that's why when I channel, I just give it as it is. And yes, some people just say, I can't relate to that. Maybe it's not their time to relate to it. Maybe that's just planting the seeds. Or maybe sometimes I've got to remember that I've been doing channeling so much of my life that the way they talk is even though I ask them to simplify it, some people cannot always relate to it. But through my quotes, through my audios, I still just give the message in the hope that one day we will all align and then we all can understand that the universe supports and loves us and is working towards us, that we can see the beauty in all. So getting back to the story, hearing 50 voices was very scary. Seeing visions was also very scary. But now I truly understand that they were setting me up and getting me to be able to tap into the universe or the energy or whatever you want to call it, the source or being the enlightenment, where you can leave your emotions, leave your human experience, and truly tap into the energy. So that euphoric feeling of that spiritual awakening was quite amazing, but scary at the same time. I've never truly fully opened up until another sort of 10 or 15 years later. I still had the ability, I could still communicate with spirit, but I didn't fully open up for another 10 or 15 years later, when I sort of was apologetic for suppressing what truly was. But you got to understand, and it's why I don't really do much sort of stand-up work anymore, because the problem I had until now, where I am now able just to tap into one energy, I would open the door for spirit world and I would get all those people coming through wanting to talk. And so when I tried to do stand-up, I'd have to hear so many voices that it was very hard to sort of isolate the one that was connected to the person in the crowd. It was like, which is just a euphoric moment again for me, it was like that it is all about the message. And so when you individually go to people, it's not what it's all about. It's a message for the masses. It's a message for all. And often the case is so many times that I've given messages and 2 or 3 people can relate to it. So maybe it's the universal message that I'm supposed to share, not the individual message. I mean, I love mediumship, and I love to help people who are lost loved ones and basically want a message from loved ones. But I don't think that's totally all of it. Mediumship to me is a tool, is an opportunity to use all my senses, to help me to connect to the oneness, to connect to the universe. And I think that's what mediumship has given me, a channel, a way to connect. And so all these years of healing, of working with angels, mediumship, teaching, has taught me so much that mediumship is just a small part. We're all mediums. We've been mediums in past lives. We all can go by intuition and gut feelings, which is the spirit world communicating. We can all connect to our souls and gain insights and be guided on our journey. And so your spiritual awakening is just realizing that you are already connected to an amazing, beautiful world that if you just surrender and allow to flow through you, you will realize the beauty in all. You will see the beauty in all. You will connect people with a soul-to-soul level. And no longer are you stuck in the illusion of material, which is still part to play. But when your life is all about the material, you only use 10% of your brain. And so you don't really expand to the levels of the universe, and it's already showing you what to do, where to go, people to meet, and you just have free will and choice whether to accept it. So this spiritual awakening that I shared with you had haunted me a bit because, seeing through the eyes of Jesus was a scary point. Seeing visions, meeting spirit, having 50 voices talking in my head, I did actually thought I was going mad at the time. But now I truly understand. Now I truly want to help people to connect to this euphoric energy that I get when I help people. It can be a bit addictive. So that's why I try not to attach to it. And I'm just thankful for the experience. And that's why I'm sharing my 10 years experience now. Because even though for 35 odd years I've been a medium, the last 10 years soul searching has brought all my deep-rooted stuff to the surface, has given me so many tools and knowledge and so many ways to connect and be one with myself and one with others. And also it's brought to the surface my fears. I have created the fears that I always worried about. But now I can understand and stay at peace with myself and who I am and just enjoy the journey, because that's really what it's all about. Enlightenment is to understand that we truly are connected to all things. And so all things are relative to the journey. All things play a part as well as you do. And the more you tap into who you are, the more you do what you love, the more you do what makes you feel alive, that's when you're tapping into the universe, into God's energy, into the source that's part of everything, into the energy that's part of everything. And that's when you find peace, because you feel at one once more, which is what you feel like when you're 0 to 7. And that's why you're such a learning machine. And probably that's why we connect or reconnect when we leave this earth, is to become part of the collective again, become part of the energy again. Or do we ever really leave? Our soul is connected to it all already. And so when we align the mind, body and spirit, it's probably then that we feel alive again and feel who we truly are. So look out for more stories I'm going to share with you. and enjoy, as I've got over 240 audios that I've actually channeled through. And if you're looking to need help on your spiritual journey, I have loads of stuff, absolutely loads of stuff that I've channeled throughout the years to help me on my journey.